You want to do the pledge too? I pledge allegiance to the flag of America, the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Again, I apologize for the late start. Everybody have a chance to review the clerk's minutes from the September 12th, the real September 12th meeting? Any corrections, requests of deletions, changes, anything? These are the clerk's minutes. I guess I forgot to take Brian's zooming in off too.
Zoom off, is it zoom in?
All right, public comments, what we're skipping to. I believe we'd received a packet of pictures and some questions on the post office and library building earlier. Linda, is that you? Did you want to take a moment for what you were presented to us and questions?
I you were gonna put me first on the agenda.
You don't have to be first. If you want to be later, you can be later.
I was coming to the post office this morning, and somehow the article about the tiniest town, which appeared in Travel and Leisure, came to my mind. And I was thinking of that as I go into the post office, and I thought, whoa, I'll bet one of these writers never walked into this post office. It just seemed shabby. It seemed dirty. And I thought, you know, it's a small town, but we see other neighboring towns with nice looking post offices. And I don't know how a post office, you know, is maintained. I guess that is my question. And with a sunny day, so you couldn't hide anything, but I don't know. I just question, I guess, why it looks the way it does. And I shared some pictures, and we see just like when we walk in to get the mail, maybe check our boxes, whatever else, and walk out. But because it looks so the way it does outside, kind of reflective, very much so, you wonder how it looks behind the counter where Kathy is. And I just wonder, I guess, who's responsible for the post office? Is it the U.S. Postal Service? I don't know anything about the building, but I'm wondering.
According to our lease, we are. Yeah.
We are responsible for the post office.
Well, that's the way the lease was drawn up. Is it the way we would like the lease to be? No. We've had discussions in the past about the rent that they pay, and they don't go very far.
The U.S. Postal Service pays rent for that space?
They do.
Okay.
Is it $650?
No, $724.50.
It's up to $724.50 now. There's a very small increase each year. When we tried to negotiate for more rent, it was kind of dropped on us that, do you still want the post office? You know, we can move your boxes to the neighboring towns and you can drive for the mail. They had long ago looked for other locations, but the post office, unless it's really odd situations, is no longer building new post offices. I think at one point they looked at where Zone 3 is. We thought it was a good idea to try and keep the post office in the center of town at that point in time, you know.
Well, I think it's very convenient in town. I think it brings people into town to do other things besides pick up the mail. I don't think I would really favor seeing the move. And I don't necessarily, well, I know a new post office is not needed, but I'm just wondering how to make that post office a little more appealing to be in and out of. It seems like it's neglected.
And as I said to you in my reply to your email, I think we unfortunately get the habit of putting the blinders on. You go in and out, like you said, you're grabbing your mail, you're in and out. You don't see it. A long time ago, I used to be a corporate restaurant manager, and I would try and tell my employees, look in the corners, look behind the garbage can. This is kind of like that. You know, your pictures actually really drove it home that, you know, the brickwork outside is dirty. You know, there are things. When I read your email to my wife, she said, I've been telling you about that for years. I said, I never heard you say that, dear. We, we hear and see what we want to hear. But the pictures really did drive it home.
I think it just looks shabby.
Well,
I
that,
don't think, that's the other things in town that people get excited about, is the new facade on Blue Line. It's Kirby's new sign over the store, whatever, we get excited about it when it looks nice. And I think people have a lot of pride in this town, but not when you go into the bookstore.
now that said, Mike, did you want to take the floor that you've asked Kathy for a list of things and
Yeah, I've been given a list of things she would like fixed in there. Nothing was really cosmetic on the outside or in the lobby. It was just fix the light here, fix some electrical here. We have done work in there, but I do agree it could use some paint and a pressure washer and
we know that we have to fix the apron going into the building. There's some issues with it cracking and spalling and possible support issues. So we're going to be looking at that, number one. And as soon as you go to fix one thing,
Well, maybe that's what needs to be looked at. I'm sure it is more than one.
Mhm.
The clock above is only right twice a day. What else? It's just
we agree.
the plastic above is plexiglass. And we know that plexiglass just gets cloudy over time. Perhaps it should be replaced with glass. That is the problem to the front door. You can't fix it if it's plexiglass. It's nice. Plexiglass is great. It's been up there for maybe 6 months. And after that, it doesn't look great. Especially in kind of weather conditions.
Well, I wanted you to know that we're not just taking it under advisement, that we want to move forward with some projects on it.
Are there any grants maybe available?
Possibly yes, but anytime that we've gone for grants or said we're going to get grants, sometimes they're either right there or they're not there. I don't see our grant writer in the audience tonight. He's been at almost every other meeting since, but I'm sure we'll be looking for some just to see, because the transom,
On a future agenda to look into grants?
we won't even need that on the future agenda. We'll be asking him to see if he can find anything for. Normally, they fall under the Main Street grants. We run into issues with the subleases and some other stuff, and then there's going to be some regulations. I think the federal regulations we're going to run up against with the post office. Anytime you go to change an entrance or something, I think there'll be some things we can do, like Mike just said, cosmetically, that will make a difference. But gutting and redoing the facility, that would be the far end of the spectrum, and I don't know how available that's going to be.
in my opinion, that would be their responsibility.
When I peeked
The
around.
interior.
Sorry,
I'm sorry, I just,
he was just saying that would be their responsibility.
Yeah,
She's got the lease right here.
yeah, for structure, it would be us, right? But,
Function would be different.
but it's, they want to move a wall or something because make the post office different or do something
Right,
inside.
anything they want to change, it says in the beginning of the contract, that anything they change for their use, for their enjoyment, use and enjoyment can be done, but it has to be put back to the way it was before if we ask for it too. So in other words, if they move some walls,
At their expense.
right, that
Yeah,
part,
yeah.
yeah. that part.
But I mean, they won't even buy her a floor mat or a vacuum.
Right.
Right, I get it,
We've wound up doing more, and it doesn't look like it. We've wound up doing more for her and the people there prior to her than the post office would be willing to do, even though the lease would state otherwise. That doesn't excuse the outside appearance and some of the functionality inside, but I think window dressing, you make a very valid point. Now that everything else in town has been brought up, it stands out.
Well, it's interesting too, that the sides of the post office look very nice. They're freshly painted. I don't know if part of it is because of the accident that happened last year. And maybe that was freshly painted, but the sides look nice compared to the front.
Well, are you talking the library entrance side?
Yeah.
More, yeah, we've had to replace windows in the stairwell going upstairs to the renter, that's upstairs, and we painted that, I believe.
We're gonna repaint it
It's gonna be repainted,
when the last one is.
but, and I know that, the people on the library board, or not, yeah, the library board just redid the surface on the patio, as you will. Paul and Reggie were out there. I don't know, were you guys out there too?
You know, just Paul and Reggie.
Just Paul and Reggie. So, you know, they've taken great pride with that. So again, if they take is, I think we could do a little with paint and refresh up front and cleaning. And possibly the plexiglass. Those are the low hanging fruit.
Who rents upstairs and where does that rent go to?
That would be Risley Townsend. They rent, the library has a lease on the whole building other than the post office. We gave the library that so that they could get a grant to replace the roof 9 years ago. 10 years ago. So they got a state library grant to replace the roof with a brand new metal roof. And we gave them the rights to rent out the upstairs. So the town is not renting to Risley Townsend, even though John sits on the town board. They're renting from the library. They have use of 90% of the building.
I've noticed that sometimes during the winter, that front door has difficulty closing. I'm constantly closing it because the heat coming out of there has got to be tremendous.
And we were having that conversation. We share the heat in that building, in that area, I believe. The electric heat in the waiting room was on us, I believe. Or are they on the boiler in the back room?
I think the boiler just does the basement and the library.
And the library.
You're on electric upstairs?
No, we have a propane with Great Clark. We have our own propane heater.
But yeah, that also is another issue.
Pay our own fuel, on our own electric, and the lease,
Yeah, in the lease.
everything.
It's also very dark if you go into the post office at night. You know, there's a light there, but it's not a workable light, so it's just very dark walking in there. Very dark. I don't know if that light has ever worked. I don't recall it ever working.
That old one that's
I've
in the
been
picture.
there Permanently for 12 years. Maybe it was different at one time.
Well, you've got notes on all of it, correct?
Mhm.
We will be seeking grants, but we will also be doing as much as we can with the budget that we have to make it look better.
Has there ever been talk about moving the post office?
That was a couple of years ago. And again, at this point in time, I don't believe there, unless there was another space right downtown, that they would be looking to move it. The easy answer for the post office is just taking our post office boxes and going, is there any room over in Eagle Bay? Is there any room in Racket Lake? The scary part is that post office in Racket Lake's got a lot of room in it. And if that were to happen, then
We'd all have delivery.
we'd all have delivery. But that's pretty much the only thing that's been keeping this one open, is that they would have to pay for delivery.
So maybe I'm asking too many questions. I don't want to rock the boat.
According to this lease, there's actually kind of a fine line, because it says landlord shall paint the interior and exterior previously painted surface as follows. And it says no later than 6 months after the beginning of the lease term. And we have a 5-year lease. It says landlord is required to apply 1 coat of paint. If additional coats are required by the postal service, the postal service will be responsible for the cost of additional coats of paint. Landlord shall coordinate the painting schedule with blah, 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 blah. But so it's kind of vague as to who really was responsible for painting and things.
If we get some energy grant, do the windows and the entrance door or something, you know, do the whole.
That would be a question for Mr.
For Dan, yeah.
for Dan.
Mhm,
And we will, trust me when I say we will be asking Dan that question. Dan's been very good for
mhm.
what he can find us. He wishes he could find us more, but when he comes through, he comes through.
Well, thank you.
Okay? No, well, thank you for bringing it to, because quite honestly, the picture slapped me in the face a little bit. And made my wife right yet again.
Well, my daughter was getting out of work and she called me. She said, Mom, what are you doing tonight? I said, I'm going to the town board. And she said, really? Something day? I said, no, I didn't really did. I said, no, well, what's going on tonight? So she found it entertaining. She said, so that's what you do there when you're bored.
That's what some people do when they're bored, right, guys? You're gonna start looking it up. Thank you, though. Anything else for public comment to start, folks?
Just wanted to see where things are with Ampian and, we're moving forward on the community solar.
I got him he wanted all the utility bills, so I got him all those. And I'm sure he's just working on the proposal at this point.
We haven't heard anything back yet.
Dan, I know, has been in touch with them. so
Mhm,
I'll
yeah.
Talk to Dan tomorrow and
Mhm.
see, because we were kind of hoping, the scoping document says October.
Oh,
So we're up against a deadline.
If he gets us back what we think we're gonna get back, we can get prior approval to sign the documents. I mean, it's been presented to us.
Yeah, I don't see that as a bad, I don't see it as a downside.
Okay.
Unless you could find somebody that's got a better deal, you can do that all day long. So, yeah, I think move forward with it. If it's, as presented.
Would somebody like to make a
I'll make that
motion
motion.
as presented?
I'll second it.
Second, discussion. Again, we're looking to enter into the contract to save us money on the power and those in the town on power. And this emulates the program that Webb is using right now. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried.
That's great, because it was also, by doing this, we get 10 people to sign up. It gives the town another $5,000. That's a great thing too.
Excellent. Thank you, Connie. All right, you want to take highway out of order? You got a guest with you? You want to start with that?
Start with-
Hi. Okay.
I'll introduce you. I'd like to welcome Tracy Eldridge. He's our Hamilton County Highway Superintendent. He's been doing a bang up job for the county for
19 and a half years.
19 and a half years. I was gonna say 20 years.
Coming close to an end.
But
So.
you can't go anywhere. But thank you for coming over to answer some questions, Tracy.
Absolutely. I talked to Mr. Fry, I think it was last week or week before on the phone about state snow and ice rates, equipment rental rates. And I talked to Sean this morning and I had told John, they're going up. I don't have any idea. We're meeting with DOT. I told him I would keep them posted. So I talked to Sean this morning. Jen in my office had a meeting Friday with the resident engineer staff to go over some. At the time I talked to Sean, I didn't know how much had come out of that. So, but it is positive, very good, better than I expected. So I did some basic, I had her give me some basic rates of what's going on. What happened was DOT has not adjusted rates since 2017. And it's long overdue. I've been advocating for it along with Sean and a lot of different entities. And so instead of doing a new snow and ice, they went to FEMA rates. And I can tell you that first off, the DOT rate book was complex and convoluted and really more complicated than it needed to be. Well, the FEMA rates are no better. Things don't match up. You got to try to work it out. So I just had Jen do me a quick basic equipment. So what I gave you is an example of, for an example, a 3/4 ton pickup gas powered. The FEMA rate currently in 23 would be $27.78 per hour. The old state snow rate is $19.84. So that's a 40% increase. That same pickup, if it has a plow wing or sander on it, would go to $64.72 FEMA rate. And the old DS or state rate was $27.24. That's a 137% increase. The tandem axle dump truck with no plow, $96.03 would be the due rate per hour. The old rate was $73.37. And then a tandem plow truck with plow wing and sander with the new FEMA rate would be $132.97 per hour. The old rate was $97.40. That's a 36.51% increase. And then the loader, like Sean's loader that he's got. The new FEMA rate for that per hour is 95.09, used to be 37.25. That's a 155% increase. I know it sounds crazy. FEMA, I've dealt with FEMA quite a number of times, too much over the last 20 years for different disasters, and it's really convoluted, but their rates are much, much better. And I certainly understand the fact that, you know, you can't do this for nothing. And these rates too, just sort of, but this counts for just the equipment, your personal service are on top of that, whatever, plus fringe and everything like that. So it is a much better increase. Believe me, I know, you know, Tandem Max about $300,000 now to purchase one. Bucket loaders, you know, where you used to buy them for just under $100,000, they're $225,000 now.
And just for the audiences, we plow the state beat and the county beat. And we plow the state beat through the county.
Correct.
The
County holds the contract, and town of Inlet, town of Marietta, and the town of Lake Pleasant are subcontractors. They also plow state beats. And then the county plows some also. And it goes through my office to get reimbursed. So this is it perfect? No, but it's a lot better. And these, I just figured these were the basic, I believe the real issue with you is really the tandem plow truck, which is that's the most of what I see coming through from Waller. It's the plow truck and the guys in the truck. So I don't know how you feel about this. These are tentative. I believe it's going to be approved.
Okay.
I just got to agree with DOT, but this was just a short list that Jen did for me to show that they are moving.
Because this benefits, I mean, not just us, the county and the others that are on the
Correct.
state beat. I mean,
Correct.
this, you know, the board has been asking me budget wise for the last couple of years, you know, where's the money? Where's the money? As the trucks have gotten more expensive, and we're out there right now for a new truck. We had ordered it actually a year and a half ago now. Because of the COVID shortages and supplies or whatever.
It's crazy world.
It's
That stuff.
it's on back order, but quite honestly, without the increase in the rates, it's kind of glad it's been on back order because, you know, we've been driving a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old truck now, right?
6 and 11.
6 and 11. And we usually like to try and swap them out on the 10-year mark. We roll the state truck back to the county beat. And are these rates going to be for the county too?
No, I have to look at that,
Okay.
put it through our budget, but I'm gonna be looking at them also.
Yeah, because that'd do some pretty wild things to your budget, the
Yeah,
county.
wild things, so.
I mean, just look at the price of fuel.
100%.
You know, we
Yeah.
haven't had this raise since these fuel prices have gone just through the roof. It's
Correct. The
insane.
cost of equipment,
Yeah.
the cost of repairs has, and Dan can certainly attest to that, and that's got a fleet of heavy trucks and equipment. I mean, it's just, I've told the county board, when I go and have to get more money because I'm over budget, I don't know what to do. For an example, we have a clutch fan on a Mack Granite that went bad yesterday. Well, Mac's on strike now, 6 months out, so our truck is going to sit there.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to? I don't know what to do with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Them are the kind of things we're facing. Everything is just absorbent, and you try to keep it. You know, I look at it, we've had this discussion at the county level over the years with the state snow and ice contracts. Is it worthwhile? No, we don't make a lot of money at it. We should at least, but I don't want to see any contractor lose money, beat their trucks because the road conditions are bad. And besides the responsibility that's on them, out there, it's for the county, it's always been something that allows me to keep my staff over the winter. At least it was, you know, some of it was not on the burden on the county directly. But it's getting to be no win all the time unless they have the money.
Yeah, because the other edge of that is finding staff.
Correct.
And if we're not getting reimbursed, the paying staff becomes harder and harder when you're competing with everybody else.
Correct.
So, couple questions. So this is, the state has decided to go with the FEMA rate.
Correct.
So that's a federal rate.
Yep.
So do you think that would mean then that federal, which would change yearly.
Federal,
The
they do,
state would adapt.
yes, I do think, if they're gonna go with FEMA, I think they'll follow.
So instead of
Need-
delay, next year, there might be, the 2024 rate might already go up some more.
Correct, 100%.
Yeah.
I do believe that's the way, Herb.
Yeah.
Their FEMA's much better proactive about that. What I wish they would be more proactive is actually updating their equipment list. I mean, they're, like, for example, FEMA goes by horsepower. That's like a key factor where the state is other factors. And I think the state just, their book is so convoluted and, you know, for an example, you look at a tandem axle, you start with the cab and chassis, what the GVWs are, that's X amount of dollars per hour. Then you add a dump box, what kind of dump box is, that's X amount of dollars per hour. Wing, plow, that's all, and if you have a two-way radio, if you have a dicky job, it's just.
All that.
You add all this stuff up and it's like, really, you're making this way more complicated than it needs.
Then it needs to be.
But
Absolutely.
unfortunately, as you guys know, I mean, DOT it's a huge bureaucracy. The locals understand, the local residency understands, they're in the same, but it's typically an Albany decision and it's slow.
And then another question I have is, so you have the contract.
Yep.
We subcontract with you.
Mhm.
So do we do that yearly?
Yes.
You
Well,
do that yearly?
we
So
used
how
to-
far out are we? So we're committed for this year. You have to be because we're here, right?
So you can get out of it anytime. you want.
Anytime.
Yes, so we used to do it, this has been an, I believe it was actually in the late seventies when the state contract first came out.
Mhm.
And they just kept amending that same contract over, adding. I believe it was 2 years ago, we did a 5-year contract, so we don't do it annually. But
Okay.
there is a way to get out of it.
Okay.
Or,
Okay.
It changes. I mean, last year when Sean and Don and I went up to look at the underpinnings on the bridge in Racket Lake, we called you up, horrified at the shape of the steel underneath there. Said, we're not driving our truck over that.
Well-
My guy's driving over that anymore. One phone call and okay, you don't have to.
Well, that's an adjustment.
It is,
I mean, if we were to say, I'm not saying we're doing this, but
Yeah.
if we were to say, January 1st, we're not doing it anymore. For an example, that's gonna put a big burden on the state, it's gonna put a
100%.
burden on everybody else
yes,
to try. So you'd think that there would be a time frame to say, look, you gotta commit to this winter and then,
well, I
whatever.
would appreciate taking the decision very soon. If you're gonna dump it, please let me know, because I don't have the people to do it, and I gotta in fairness to DOT.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
DOT, and I have a very good relationship with the local, and I have a good relationship with the Utica office. It's the bureaucracy, for example, they're late on some of their payments. The county holds the bag. We make sure you guys are paid
And then
for all
you
your
do
stuff,
the
and then
thing.
I'm stuck, the
Yeah.
county stuck holding until we get reimbursed for everything. So it's a cash flow issue too at times, so I don't want to be burdensome on the local taxpayer, period. That said, the state roads are important to all of us because we all travel too. So
Absolutely.
And
No,
Sean has always done his guys.
does a
all of them
tremendous
done a great
job, and one of the things that I know would be a trade-off if we ever decided not to do it, or if we couldn't do it because of health or cost or whatever, is that the state's gonna take it over. The state takes it over, they're not gonna have the pride to take care that we do for our town, I don't believe.
No,
Yeah, and so there's gonna be a trade-off for that, I get it, and that's one of the reasons that we always push to do it.
They're not gonna come up with a local hub. They're gonna be forced to come out of Old Forge or Blue Mountain or Long Lake.
What my thought is.
End of the line isn't gonna be treated as good as the.
Well, if Old Forge came up and just did the Seventh Lake,
Seven Lake
they're
Bone.
on a 24-hour basis already, that's not gonna add nothing to what they're doing. But the other end of the road, is gonna be sorry,
Yeah.
because it's a long way coming down.
We've the county, we've had the beat, right from the town of Lake Pleasant's Highway Garage out to Route 10
Mhm.
for as long as, we actually ended up helping them out and swapping beats, 2 years ago. So we're actually doing the Morehouse beat now, because they didn't have enough personnel to put into the Arietta garage. So we had to switch beats around down there and switch it around because they don't have the people either. And everybody expects the roads to get plowed.
Yeah, so,
We've tried to work with them as best we can. To make sure, my bottom line is, I just want everybody in the county safe as best possible, but if it doesn't make sense to do it.
well, that's it.
It's their responsibility.
That's it. Once you've got these numbers and you can very easily go and get how many, how many miles we've done, how many hours we've done in a year and be able to multiply that. Look at,
Absolutely.
look at the insurance, and see where that number is once you have this.
Yeah.
But I know it's gotta be, especially if it hasn't been raised since 2017,
I believe.
that rates have
Oh,
costs have almost doubled since then, and theirs is the same. It doesn't make sense.
No. And they've heard me many times say, you gotta do something.
Yeah.
You can't expect, we face. As you are very well, you face a 2% tax cap and all this stuff, we have to do it, and, fuel costs, equipment costs. All that stuff has gotta be factored in, so
Yep.
you need to step up too.
Yes.
So this is encouraging, actually it's better than I expected, honestly, but, it's perfect.
Yeah, thank you for underselling me on that, because when I told him 5 to 10 or maybe 20.
I did-
I was throwing stuff at.
No, no, I shrugged him off. Good to start low and then go up.
I've said too many things that's kind of bit me ass. I'm not gonna tell you it's a 50% or 30% increase. I'm telling you what I'm gonna guess, because I had no idea, to be completely honest.
When do you think they're gonna give you the final? Yes?
Well, we're working on all the rates for everybody right now, and I expect to have in a week.
Okay,
I don't think there's gonna be any issue with this number. And I didn't do it, like Sean has a skid steer that uses, that'll go up. But that's pretty much the equipment. I don't remember if you charge. Do you use anything other than pickups? Okay, the backhoe, yeah, but
Did you count that as a loader too, or no? I mean,
No,
you've got
backhoe's
hashtag
different.
208, so you're doing this as a 2-yard machine, 3-yard machine, 4-yard, 1-yard machine,
4-yard machine, because,
4-yard machine,
because
going on and on.
I did.
Just saying it ain't a 4-yard machine.
No, but what the FEMA rate is, you get to pick, for an example, there's a 2-yard, then 4-yard. Well, it's 2.5, so I go to the next one up. And I don't think there's gonna be any dispute about that.
Doesn't matter till it matters kind of thing. Somebody has to audit that and
Correct.
pursue it.
Yeah. That's where I mean FEMA needs to do better about setting up, loaders, because a lot of them are 3.5. Generally speaking, a lot of loaders are 3.5 yards. Not 4. It's just this, they're so general. So I look, if it doesn't meet that number, I go to the next one up. And that's what to me makes sense.
So we really only been being paid 37.25 for a loader?
You say I heard you before, there's no money left for the loader. I tried to put a bunch of, you're donating the thing. There's no money left. You bring this little check back here, like,
well, that's a separate issue in our budget, but if he's gonna be getting an excavator to replace the other one that might go to trails. We had said, then the loader's gotta work for a little while. Now at least if we're gonna be able to build this, we'll be able to build up some money to put down on a loader eventually.
Yeah, correct. The revenue is certainly better. I mean, the loader, they've been extraordinarily low for a long time.
Tracy, I can't thank you enough for this update.
No worries. Any other questions?
Yeah,
while I'm-
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
I'm not done yet.
while you're here,
I thought I tried, Tracy.
So on another subject, let's talk about the transfer station.
Okay,
Okay, I know that we're losing our rest of our funding.
Yep.
For that, so we're on our own now.
Mhm.
What are we able to bill for the transfer station? Like if we transfer recyclables, are we
Yes.
getting money for that?
if you transfer, not the present time, but if you do, I will pay Sean to put my rental for
So send them to where they gotta go or,
to Indian Lake.
Yes.
Basically what we're doing, a hub in Indian Lake, a transfer station and the one in Lake Pleasant to disperse all the recyclables that are going to Twin Bridges and Clifton Park.
okay, so all that stuff we're taking up there, we're getting reimbursed for.
Yep.
And so, because we're making a lot more trips now that we're not condensing
But
it.
I'm
Yeah.
hoping that he doesn't have to do that much anymore once we get set up properly. 'Cause
Okay.
We can haul it for you, so he doesn't have to do it.
Oh, I see. So the plan is gonna be that the county is gonna do its own hauling.
Yes, as much as possible.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And then I can justify, if I can't, hey, Sean, can you haul this load? He's over full. Bring it, I'll pay you for it.
Got
you're
it.
gonna pay him FEMA rates tandem axle,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
Roll off additional, it's not on here, I'm just saying.
See
it's
what I
not-
put
No,
up
that
with
is
crazy?
county, this is
Yeah.
state for state reimbursement.
Right,
Yeah,
I've got to put rates together that the county board will accept because it's all the same pocket then. It's all local money. I understand completely what you're saying,
yeah.
but if I'm hauling it, you don't have to, is what I'm saying.
Right. No, I
you
get,
get that,
I get that plan and that's
Yep.
because the county's really responsible for the recycling.
Correct.
That, and so in any fashion, whether we're running them or you're running
Yes,
them,
it's our
it's your
responsibility.
responsibility.
That is correct.
And we're gonna be responsible now for our facility,
Mhm.
technically.
Yes.
Like every other town has their facility
Yes,
for the most part,
correct.
that they have to staff themselves. I know
Yeah, you either have
there's a couple that,
Yeah,
the counties,
The
they,
real small ones don't.
they trade together.
Yeah,
We still have, we're still responsible for our own trash and C and D, right?
yes,
Your fault.
that's the same as it's always.
Yeah.
that's always been.
That's the
Yeah.
same. We haven't changed.
Yeah.
It was really trying to go to single stream so we could get rid of it. We've been, as John knows, we've been working on it a long time.
Yeah.
Tipping fee stays the same,
Tipping fees are going up. We just signed a contract. It's going, with Fulton County, it's going from 48 to 52.
I put a little bit more in the proposed budget for that.
And I think you've got the numbers of what, I think I gave it to everybody, maybe, of course, you haven't, but I can get them, what I gave it, to everybody was what your average tons are per year, Dan.
right, typically, yeah.
Typically, and I'll tell you, it's pretty remarkable how close they are for.
I've looked from year to, it's kind of amazing.
It's amazing. It really truly is how close. There's outlier years sometimes, but it is remarkable how close. We've been around, the county as a whole has been around 6,000 tons for 15 years, about annually total.
Hmm.
And this year, it looks like we're gonna be running 5,700, like, it's hard to say between now and end of the year, but we were at one time 7,300 tons. Well, when I was first started, when we weren't recycling there as much. We actually hauled that much to Rodman. Now we're hovering around 6,000 ton.
Our staff is telling us at the transfer station that they think more and more is going into the single stream than it was before. Are you seeing?
Yeah, I think that, oh yeah, we're crazy. Of course, we went from, before we only took 1s and 2s plastics, now we're doing 1 through 7s. Can be
Yeah.
that,
That makes a difference.
Sure, sure.
And then there's people that are throwing any kind of plastic they could ever think might go in there. I mean,
Yeah.
you watch people, they take a plastic wrap off something and throw it in there and you go, wait a minute.
The recycler has not given me a hard time over any of our loads.
Good, good.
So
Yeah, cause they're probably doing it all mechanically.
It's
Anyway,
yeah, that's
so it's
all.
just as easy for them to
mechanically,
just-
you dump it and it goes through
Yeah.
a big sort, and it's just quite remarkable. It's here to next door, big that machine where
Yeah.
it pulls everything is, it's crazy, but I don't know how they do it, but
But we'd always had clean recyclables before, so people have been trained to clean.
that's,
I-
it was a tough transition because it's tough to do that, to say, you don't have to be that fussy, but I hate to say that.
Mhm.
You're never, when you're gonna go back, because it's hard to go back,
Right, right.
because our recyclables were always super clean across the county.
Tracy, we can't compact that stuff, right? Unlike,
They don't like it compacted, especially the plastics, because when it gets dumped, it goes into the thing, they get hung together and it creates issues, like if we were to, compact it, they don't want it.
cause these loads are so light,
They're
it's
light,
ridiculous.
Yes.
What do you run it? What do you get?
I don't even, it's not even 5 ton. I don't-
Oh, really?
No, they're light, because it's.
So light, it's just,
Oh, here.
Yeah, so, but it's one of those things, it's just, we're required to do it. And there's not, again, there's not a lot of money to, I just had a discussion with the county board, last week, that, the waste tires. This county is crazy, the cost
Mhm.
to the county tax.
They are. I'm sorry to say, but I mean, if they don't, they should start charging, at least that would put a kibosh to some of it, I think. But
The conversation that we've always had, John's been on the county board long enough to know, is the county's always taken a stance that they don't want to see them over the bank.
I get it.
because you're paying anyway, everybody's paying anyway.
Everybody's paying, yeah, so it's really, I don't know the correct answer.
Yeah.
To be.
No, I get what you're saying. There was always discussion about the refrigerators and the Freon, about people would just throw them in their backyard or whatever, you know, but.
But you work in communities where they charge and you,
I mean,
you see backlogs
you
and stuff.
get a regular
I
tire
have,
change
I've
to
been
a
all over
fireplace.
the state. There's
They
some of that.
charge you like 10 or 15 bucks to keep the tire.
Yeah, it's much, really, our system overall works pretty well because you can just go in and get rid of your stuff. There's no exchange of money or
Yeah,
anything like
well-
that, you know.
You'd have to, what we do here with the refrigerators, you have to go to the town clerk.
Yeah.
And you know, cause you couldn't have money up there. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
I can't see how that
I
would
never
work.
wanted that.
You could have a credit card machine maybe and swipe it through, but short of that, there's no way.
But again, the over the bank thing was gonna be the issue. Thank goodness our seasonal homeowners can't bring their refrigerators and washing machines from home like they do their electronics.
Correct.
But that's another topic.
That's another whole nother topic.
Yeah.
So,
But again, we make it available so that they can bring someplace so that we can keep things clean.
yeah.
And we're gonna wait,
And there's a price for it.
and we're gonna pay for it.
Yep.
Any other questions to Tracy?
No, I think I'm done now.
Are you sure?
Well, I could come up with some more, but I think I'm satisfied. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the sheet, which we haven't gotten.
Yeah, Tracy, I can't thank you enough.
Welcome. It worked out right. And Sean called me and I said, well, I'd be happy to meet with him. And I said, when's your next town board meeting? He says tonight. I will be there.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You got anything for me, Sean? You wanna beat me up for anything or?
No, sir.
Okay.
Oh, thank you again for coming down there. Liz.
Yeah. Happy to.
All right.
Sean, I thought you were gonna ask him when South Shore Road was gonna get paved.
Actually, when are you thinking of trimming the South Shore Road out?
Definitely.
I mean,
Yeah.
I hate to complain, but I mean, I complain long enough in Herkimer County, and they're actually doing it with some of
No, I understand.
It's just,
Cause as soon as you leave, they were gonna ask me that, so that's why I threw it out there.
It is on my thing. I wanna do it. Dan, is we've got so far behind because we worked up in Long Lake for a month, unfortunately, in the state system. It's put us way back, but it's on my list that I know it needs it bad.
like I say, you get a little pressure now because Herkimer County's doing theirs, so it's
Yep, for sure.
perfect. That's,
Okay.
Thank you, Tracy.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Careful going home. All right, highway, you're still lit, mister. Top of that. Top of that.
We hauled garbage recyclables, swept downtown every other Thursday since Labor Day. Cut grass along the trails and roadsides. We picked up the town web entrance into the Current Park for the Fall Festival and brought it back to Old Forge after the weekend. We installed another culvert in Moose River Plains Road. We started work on a Townsend Trail and made very good progress. As when I wrote this, we have one more piece to build to make the connection. We made that connection today. And we just gotta put dust down and topsoil and a split rail fence and seed it, and phase 2 will be complete. I'm gonna call DOT to ask them about a crosswalk now that it's connected and complete. Or will be complete, so I'll get that ball rolling, so hopefully that's in place by spring anyway. I don't see him doing it before then, but. And we hauled the remaining pile of gravel that we had left into the Moose River Plains, into the Moose River Plains. Coming up, we're gonna be hauling garbage and recyclables. And we're gonna continue work on the Townsend Trail and get it connected and finished up. We're gonna start getting our snow removal equipment ready for use. And we're going to be installing a culvert on Parker's Road near the end of this month. More than likely gonna have to close the road for one night to get this job done. I'm not sure. I've never installed this kind of culvert. So hopefully it goes along quick.
What kind of culvert is it?
It's a bottomless arch. And the county and Hamilton County Soil and Water will be assisting us with this project. They're gonna bring us a bigger machine. So that for reach and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Machine on one side, big machine on one side, my machine on the other side. So hopefully we can get it knocked out in a day, at least one. Like, I've never installed one. If it was just a tube, we could have it done in a half a day today. But anyway, so that's coming up.
Mhm.
And we're gonna start blowing leaves off our road and trails when we get our blower back from the county. They borrowed it, theirs went down, and they use it for paving projects and different stuff like that, because they needed to blow the leaves off the road before they pave, so I gave them ours. That's why we don't have, they have one identical to ours and it went down. So I'm hoping to have that back by the end of the week, so we can start blowing some of our stuff off the roads.
Herb FEMA rental rates on blowers, what are they? Just saying, I'm looking for money anyway.
Yeah, anywhere you're doing anything, there's gotta be a rate for it, so.
Well, that's a trade-off for the excavator for the Parker show, not Sean? All right,
And that's all I have for the highway department.
Transfer station?
Transfer station is, right now it's open 7 days a week from 8 AM to 11:45, and then 1 PM to 6:45. Closed from 12 to 1 daily for lunch. Our winter hours will start November 6th, which is open Monday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, closed on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Same hours year round. Closed 12 to 1 for lunch. They came in and drained some of the units with Freon in them. I'm hoping they return to finish them up. I think they got like 31 refrigerators. I know there's a lot more there that need.
I was gonna say, there's quite a pile up there.
Yeah. So hopefully they come back to do that. And that's all I have for the transfer station.
Anybody have any questions of highway or transfer?
Oh. I got one more for highway.
Trailer?
Yeah. So that we talked about the trailer last month. The trailer that he had, he did sell, but the one that it's single jack versus dual jack, it's $2,000 cheaper. So it's a 10-ton trailer, triaxle trailer for $13,150 versus $15,150.
And it was cheaper because I didn't get that.
The jack.
The one that he had, it was cheaper than everybody else. He had one built already that had 2 jacks,
Oh, I got you.
like landing gear jacks. But he sold that one, but he'll be building this one and it's a single jack and it's $2,000 cheaper.
Sounds like it.
$2,000 cheaper.
Right, yes, I'm good.
Equipment
I'm
guys?
Glad we waited.
see, you just saved us $2,000, Sean, see that?
Everything happens for a reason, what he's looking for it to do.
Now, this can be, as I asked for, shared on occasion.
Absolutely.
If somebody needed a trailer for something.
If anybody needs it,
I
absolutely.
just bring it up because it's
I
nice.
don't usually need something that big.
First come, first served scheduled projects.
Well, I think schedule it definitely unless it's emergency.
Right.
Truck, you need to tow that? It'll have a pintle hitch on it.
Motion to save $2,000?
I'll make.
I'll second to save 2,000.
What's the total price, sir?
$13,150.
This is a dual axle,
It's tri.
Triaxle.
triaxle, even better. Single,
Same length deck and tail as before.
Yes,
Just curious.
yes, yep,
It's fitting for what you want to do though, right?
yes, sir,
For serving your needs.
yes, sir.
Okay.
And it's
Motion.
even a little heavier than the other ones that we spec'd out, so if there's something heavier down the road,
You got the cushion.
yes, sir.
no more hauling in the back of the transfer.
Wow, right.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Opposed? So carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
All right, back up to the top communications update. Bunch of stuff's been happening. I don't know if anybody saw on the web or in the papers or online or whatever, there was a question as to whether or not Oneida County and Herkimer County were gonna be merging their call centers. I guess Oneida County's been having issues with staffing and we're gonna go for a grant to see if it was possible. We have it on pretty good authority from the Herkimer County people that they're actually gonna be putting more money into the call center and things are gonna stay status quo for quite a while.
They're doing it right now.
They're doing it right now.
Yeah.
So, quite honestly, there were many reasons for it, but none of them were gonna work out really well for us. We've been very happy with, Herkimer County, and that's where we want to stay for the foreseeable future. So that was the best news, especially since we're still trying to get our towers up and going on Corsani's Hill. I know AT&T dropped their equipment up there last week, and T-Mobile was supposed to be bringing theirs. I haven't been up to see if T-Mobile did bring their generator and I call it mini boxes to run their
I
stuff.
haven't seen it. I'm not seeing it.
But they've been doing quite a bit of work up there. I don't know if I reported last month, if they were already down to, Dave Corsani's groomer shed with both conduits for the power and for the fiber. And they were just dealing with the APA. National Grid made them go back out to the APA for doing a direct bore under the creek.
They did that,
And they did the direct bore already? Syracuse Utilities came up to do it?
they did that.
I thought I saw their trucks and they were pumping water out of the creek there or across from the barn there.
I think they've been calling that the seventh lake.
Yeah, they're
Oh, have
taking the
they?
water there.
Oh, are they?
Did the bore,
Okay,
it's there.
Cool.
gotcha. Anyways, almost all the hurdles are out of the way. The only hurdle we still seem to have is over this, what we're doing with a shelter for on top of the hill. And dang it, I want to get one in place before snow flies. So we may not be getting the shelter under the grant. We may be going for, like you were talking earlier, 2 back-to-back or possibly a used one from Sprint out of Texas.
Right.
You know, we've got a generator that's going to be on order. Hamilton County brought down the generator
There's a generator at the highway garage. right now.
at the highway garage that we can use until we get the one off the bid in to satisfy the federal grant. We may not be utilizing the full amount of the federal grant because they just will not come to terms with us on the fact that we could not get the shelter that they wanted us to get. That's gonna have to come out of the crowdsource funding that's sitting in Adirondack Bank right now. Which will limit some of the money that we're gonna have to buy equipment, which is one of the reasons why I sent out an email to the tower group last month. That I'm trying to get the county to use as much of their grant money as they can to help us with that stuff. So hopefully it'll be a net zero to us. From our budget, other than what we had already allocated. The shortcoming on that might be we may not wind up with money left over at the end of the project to buy the fire company some radios. But that had always been a plan B if there was money left, if I'm not mistaken. Lot numbering, I believe Andrew Khalil is still going out with a representative from Herkimer County. And they're 80% done. They've been working on that all fall. And this will be once and for all giving us the right numbers on the right roads to be in the Herkimer County system. I think this is our 5th attempt at this in
At
the
least.
last 25 years.
At least.
So stay tuned, folks. Your numbers will be changing, but I can't tell you when. Planning board. We have in front of us tonight possibly adopting the short-term rental regulations. The 2 updates that came out of last month's meeting are amending the term of the permit to 4 years. It had been 5 years originally in the law. It had been proposed in all drafts to be 3 years. After listening and hearing people say 3 years was too soon, I kind of threw out there last month what I've been thinking all along, right in the middle, 4 years. 4 years at the same rate that had been previously been set. We're also amending the, not the term agent, but local agent. Do you want to take any of this?
Yeah, well, we're leaving the term
Agent.
Agent,
because we understand that it doesn't have to be a paid position, it could be,
Well, it just defines the person that's acting
Correct.
as the other person.
but we took out the term, or the words after that, so it doesn't have, they do not have to reside in the town of Inlet or in the adjoining town.
correct. None of these we feel fly in the face of making this more extreme or hard. This is actually softening the proposed law. We believe the public hearing process had been open long enough, and these changes are quite honestly in direct response to the information we'd received from the public and the board. So I believe we have a copy that had been emailed out to us all earlier, and is it online now?
Online, yep.
It's online as we speak. I'll give anybody in the public one more opportunity to talk briefly, if they would like. Joe?
Yeah, on a positive note, the whole process has been positive between the board, the planning board, the public. I like the way it's been going around and discussed. Hasn't been a one-way street. So that's been very positive. And as far as what you're talking about, I'm really not in any disagreement. It's been 20 years. I just feel it's been working well for us for 20 years. You know, and I can understand in time, some things change. The financial part, I think we're saying, or Herb and here said, the $300 fee is what's kind of being talked about.
Yeah, well, so the fee is not in the law. That's something that the board sets.
No,
Yeah, so that the fee is still negotiable because,
That was a proposal.
right, the proposal one by
Right.
the codes office was $300 for.
Yeah, well, either whether it's law or however you discuss it, it seems, well, for 5 years, what, it's $60 a year, 4 years, it's. What's the math, 75? Yeah. 75. So, the only thing, and I was reading in here on, and I know Tim does septic inspection, so I've been doing it for 30 years myself, and not as many in Inlet anymore, obviously, because on the sale, you know, the town does the inspection, which actually is good. I hope, but from everything that I've seen with septic systems going back, now I've been doing a little over 30 years. There's been a dramatic improvement in septic systems from what we used to look at. Even, you know, even in the last 10 years, I don't want to do these ancient systems like you used to. A lot of upgrading, but as far as one comment in there where it was about rentals may need more pumping because of an overcrowding issue, and that's debatable only in the sense that in my own property, my own family overcrowds my own property more so than actually my rentals. And in a rental, the amount of people that are in there are limited, according to the law. You know, 2 per bedroom, and so if you have a 3-bedroom, technically you're renting to 6 people. I think there was an option for 2+. But if your own family's there, you can have 12 people, 15 people, and there's no regulation at all. So I just think just the aspect, and it probably has no basis on any of the law that we're talking about, that there's a lot of common sense involved. If you're a property owner, I mean, you pump your septic system, I mean, you shouldn't really have to have the town telling you to do that. Common sense would, you know, tell you under certain usage, whether it's your family or whether you're renting it, when it is time to pump. So I just don't also think that just based on rentals would be also a reason to go to a 3-year because of a certain situation with a septic system. So maybe if you feel 5's too long, 3's too short, 4's a decent compromise.
I think the thought there was that renters tend to use the septics harder. They put more things down them.
Yeah, they're stupid like that,
Yeah,
but good
they use
landlords
it-
sometimes
right,
put a sign
They
there.
tend to use it harder. That
You know,
was-
you can give them the warning, so to
That's,
speak.
I think that.
But
was-
even with my septic inspections too, on every report, I even write a recommendation.
Sure.
Of pumping. A good idea is to pump every 4 years, so
Right.
it's even right on my own recommendation
Right.
sheet.
But that's why that was in, because renters do use them harder. People
What's
living- That's why that was in there, because renters do use the systems harder than people living.
Well, less common sense, because they're not
Right.
familiar with it,
Yeah, more grease, more hard things that aren't supposed to go down.
absolutely.
If I rented, I would pump every year.
All right, I don't,
If I rented, I would pump every year.
You'd pump every
I would
year.
pump it every year if I rented. That's just my.
all right, any other comments on what's in front of us? I don't mean to cut it short, but, Tracy took up way too much time. I'm just kidding. This has been, I honestly think, a really hard, good look at what we did. And as you said, 20 years ago, I was a member of the board when this was first talked about and we put it through. I believe Ron Miller first brought it to us, didn't he?
It was
From the
yeah,
Finger
the
Lakes.
Finger Lakes, exactly.
And, you know, we set the bar pretty high with that, and the same with our septic ordinance that we've got. So, with that said, would anybody on the board like to move the proposed update to the short-term rental regulations of the law as presented? Anybody want to move it? Anyone?
I'll move it.
You have a motion? Would anybody like to
I'll
second it?
it.
Second, discussion. Again, I thank the planning board. I thank the members of the public. I thank the town board for taking a long, hard look at this. a slow look at this.
Public hearing's been closed since.
Public hearing's been closed. And the hard question, the redraft have been sent to legal for the moratorium coming out.
Taking out the
Yep.
mark.
We made the changes on the 4-year and the local agent part. We made it less restrictive. To highlight those yet again. I'd like the clerk to call the vote.
Councilman Brownsell.
Aye.
Councilman Schmidt,
Aye.
Supervisor Fry,
Aye.
Councilman Levy,
Aye.
Councilman Townley.
So carried unanimously. Let's hope this has the same benefit as it did for the others for 20 years. Thank you, thank you. Joe, thank you for your words. All right, assessor codes, parks building is attached. Mike, you've been sitting there patiently, so we'll let you go first this time. Then John, then Cordell.
I mean, most of my stuff's written report here. The past 3 to 4 weeks have been extremely busy. It was almost like a return to summer. We had really good weather. So the next few weeks, we'll start closing things down. Bathrooms will close this week out in Arrowhead Park. We'll start closing down the cottages. Start bringing in the garbage bins, picnic tables, benches, all that fun stuff. We're currently doing a bunch of work in Fern Park, brushing back trails. Chip's helping us with the use of Corisani's rented excavator. And we're fixing the Fifth Lake Trail, our main lower trail there, putting in some new culverts, doing some ditching, taking out some bumps and rocks. So that'll be all good for the winter, make grooming a lot easier and walking and biking. Other than that, as soon as Sean gets the blower back and he's done using it, we'll start blowing the trails in Fern as well. So, yeah, pavilion at Fern will get closed up here soon. We close the sides, but we'll probably put the ends in and get the liner in before the end of the month. We were able to paint the front of that, stain it, get all new signage. It looks 100 times better. And we just got the final coats on the Arrowhead bathrooms. So all the yellow's been redone, all the trim's been turned white from brown. It looks really good.
Cool.
So
We ordered a new sign for the Fern
yeah.
Park Pavilion too, that Luke is working on. So hopefully we'll be here. The one that said the Stewart.
I was hoping that was gonna come back because nobody's pointed that out yet, I hope.
No,
That it's gone.
no, I said, I did say something to Penny
Okay,
about
good,
it, just
good.
to confirm that.
I didn't want them going up there and getting scared that we weren't acknowledging it anymore.
No, it will be back.
Oh, park looks great, Mike. It does.
thank you. And thanks to Sean for bringing us the bin today. So we'll start cleaning up that too, pine needles and leaves. Pine needles really dropped on us this year. So.
And they came down fast. All right,
Take the
Thank-
blower and blow them. Just
John, anything from downstairs?
It's been busy. The weather has definitely held out for a lot of local contractors, so. Work still seems to be coming in, permits be coming in, people keep coming in with a lot of questions about what to do and what can I do and that kind of thing. We have a few new homes actually being built up on Lime Kiln and a rebuilt home being built on Tyler Road. Other than that, a few other permits, a pool and a proposed solar system going on top of a business in town. I don't know if it's gonna come to fruition. I think it's relying on a grant, but
Did you say a pool and a solar system going on top of a business?
and
Okay,
yeah. Other than that, just been getting a lot of calls for trying to close out permits and getting things wrapped up from summer.
very good. You guys are ready for all the permit stuff from the passage tonight?
Yep.
Very good,
It's got a lot harder.
very good. Adele, tag you're it.
I realized I failed to mention in my report, I failed to mention Fall Festival, because Fall Festival was great. I had some vendors who've been coming for years who said it was the best fall festival ever. The weather just worked out perfect. It was just, I blame it on the weather, but it was great. We had just one no show And then we had one gal that realized they shouldn't have been there because they were selling stuff in the wrong territory, so they had to leave.
Oh.
But other than that, it was great.
That bus with the Buffalo Bills on the side of it was beautiful too.
Right, great shuttle. So hopefully we'll have that again for many events. The only other thing is the snowmobile permits. I think we might be selling permits tomorrow.
Systems starting to work.
I still see issues with the reports that we're gonna be printing out, and some extra work that we're gonna have to do at the end of the day to like transfer them and just to make our dollars add up to separate credit cards from cash, from checks, from whatever. But hopefully people will be able to buy permits tomorrow afternoon.
Are we gonna be able to process more offline?
I've talked with Alexis about letting my office do Tuesdays and Fridays, because those are the days that Brittany and I are both in the office. And she's willing to start with that and see how it goes.
Because that would be a huge help with the current situation we have.
If I can just add to that, it's a fraction of the work that was required from taking a written permit in the past, retyping all the information that was never saved, so they had to redo it every single year by hand. That's why it takes 5 people.
Right.
And it takes their office so many people. It's literally hitting print and stuffing it into an envelope with a stamp.
So I will be looking to get a couple iPads though for the counter, so people can go online and plug that stuff in instead of sitting there and filling out a paper application, handing it to us and us typing everything in there. This way they'll be able to just go online, put it in themselves.
Do they come with special eye clamps?
Yeah, a leash of some kind?
Or a computer.
Yeah, it could be a computer.
Or kiosk.
But
Yep.
something,
Okay, excellent. Good news,
Yep.
good news.
yeah,
That sounds good to me.
it's promising.
Can't believe it's happening.
Yeah, me neither.
All right, I know I had parks down here for playground update. Does anybody have anything on the playground update?
I have a question for the playground. Dan asked me to ask how much the town is gonna.
That was on mine too. I'm glad you-
Playground.
How much,
So there's a board out there. Brittany made us a thermometer. The goal is 60 grand. And we're currently at 15. And this included the bear bins that we bought too.
okay,
No,
Yeah,
Yeah.
or more fairness.
what'd you say?
That's not for the ones we already bought.
Is for additional ones?
additional ones.
So that's not all the money for the.
Yeah,
playground.
he said,
So
What's the
that's
split?
No.
playground, that goal includes more bear bins.
So
For the
60 is a high number. I don't think we really need to reach that to do what we want. To be honest with you.
Because of the bear bins or,
No, just, there might be some different options we can. Say if we get the 40 and it stalls out,
okay,
we can make 40 work. Not getting as big of a playground, getting a few less pieces. I mean, there's options. So, 60 is the dream.
Yeah, but so the 15 that it's on right now, that's all been private donations.
and how long's that been out there?
Oh, well, we just put the thermometer out there on Saturday,
That's been,
but they've
Just over a
been
month.
sharing it online. Yeah,
How much is on there now?
15.
Well, 15, really?
yeah, I'm pretty impressed with how much we've raised. so far.
Anybody want to get their name on a bear bin?
Right?
Dan said
Still a bear bin.
he just kind of needs to know for grant purposes. He tells the grant in his grant writing that.
That the town is coming up with this
Right.
much.
It's not
I
true.
think we discussed that and set a number.
I
we
wanted,
approved
I thought the same.
I didn't see it in here.
It's a long way.
Well, it's not in the budget right now, but I know we had talked about it and we gave him a number.
But that's a long time ago.
Right.
But I also reached out to Mary too, to see how much the youth commission is gonna give.
We'll match whatever the youth commission gives.
She didn't answer me.
Don't quote me on it, but I think we said we would do like 5, the youth commission was gonna do 2,500 and 3,000 or something. at that time.
That sounds about right. Between the two of us, I think 10 might be attainable.
And I think Penny had mentioned the Stewart Foundation help.
Yeah, she.
Yes,
I
and now-
talked to her about it.
Okay.
And.
Yeah, they might not be able to
and
do anything
I'm
this
not sure.
calendar year, but
Right.
possibly.
Mhm.
Unless you read the top of my agenda, there's only 2 months left in the year. Um. Does that number work?
I'm sure it does.
Okay.
It's definitely a start, so at least he has something to go.
Okay.
Go. Thank you.
Yep, and I know we already had highway and transfers. I read down this, but I also want to once again thank you for the work you're doing on the Townsend Trail.
Looks good.
If anybody hasn't walked little pieces of it, I try and walk as much of it as I can, but they keep telling me not to walk on the parts that are working on right at the moment, which is a nice sign. He doesn't want to run me over.
You can walk the whole thing now.
You can walk the whole thing now. And it meanders as neatly as it can through those pieces of property. And so that was a hard section to get done. Your next section, I think.
The hardest section was the section we did today.
Yep.
That was the
Every
hardest.
landowner's a new customer, basically. for them to deal with.
Pretty much.
And
Then
I'd like to say for public record, thank you to all the landowners that
That's a
gave
real,
us
that's where I was.
more or less that piece of property and on of theirs to
yeah,
build this trail onto.
well said.
And this has been frustrating from the easement portion of it. I'd like to thank Bonnie for sticking with this. Patty started it. Our county clerk came over to help with it. I mean, it's been the changes that have happened since we first talked about doing this.
That was the most frustrating part because it looked like we were dragging our feet doing that. It wasn't us dragging our feet on that.
The old school of just taking does and go, you can't do it.
You can't do that anymore. And then when they came back and said they wanted social security numbers from everybody, it threw another bottle work in. It's,
You see how long it took us to build it, right?
Yep.
It wasn't us holding up the process, I can promise you.
No.
Beautiful job, but you guys have to be proud of that, you really.
We're very proud of it. It's very, my guys,
I can't wait till next year when it really settles in.
it's awesome. It'll be dusted and topsoiled and seeded hopefully tomorrow, if not by tomorrow. Thursday.
excellent. Thank you, sir. And your staff.
Thank you.
Well done.
And that young man looked like he knew what he was doing in that equipment too.
He just had a blast doing that job.
Town clerk report.
Revenue, $44,460.50. Most of that was sewer revenue. And well, cottages kind of lays over from the beginning of the summer, whatever kind of comes in. Adele, did the other thing I had, and what was the last thing? No, I guess that was it.
All right, it's budget season. We've had 2 budget meetings, 2 weeks ago, last week. Last week.
Mhm.
Everything's running together tonight, and I'm proposing that we have one more the night of the public hearing on the budget. I don't think we can wait to adopt or have the public hearing the night of our town board meeting in November, because it's the week after the election.
Right.
It's gotta be what, 8 days
So
before?
we usually have it the night of the election.
You're right.
Right, within 7 days, I'm saying, okay.
I'm looking at Mr. Florida.
Well,
He's going through a schedule right now.
I'm going through my schedule. What do you want to know?
The night of the election.
The night of the election,
You're gonna be here?
Florida. So
All right.
What's
Okay.
that, November?
I'm gonna be here for the 24th for the budget meeting.
All right.
That's one.
We want to stick with the 24th,
I mean, I'm here the
24th.
25th and then I'm gone until the 9th.
but the
I
24th,
wanted to do it Thursday, the 9th.
well, hang on,
Wait, gotta figure out.
Oh, wait a minute, no. No, you can't do that. I won't be here. I'm flying in. So. 25th, 24th.
The 24th is which I also didn't put on my agenda, is the meet the candidate night.
Mhm.
Oh,
And court and,
And or
Yeah.
PA night.
yeah,
No, it's not.
All right.
PA night, but it's.
so I guess that isn't gonna be working, is it?
no.
I can take that out of the calendar then.
So the 25th?
And the election is 25th.
The election is the 7th.
There's a
7th,
planning board meeting on the 20th. I
8 days prior to
think it has to be
the
7.
election.
Oh, is that what it's gonna be?
Yeah,
You see where I'm going?
prior to the election.
All right, so I see where you're going.
What time do you have your budget meeting?
But that's what we're trying to figure out.
Well, cause so planning board meeting, our planning board meetings are 20 minutes. So if you had a meeting at 7:30.
You do.
It's
It
safe.
can happen.
It can happen.
Yeah, just saying.
You're long gone by then.
Yeah.
Is that 7:30, 8 o'clock? I
I'm
think she's
good, I'm
picked up
good
your-
later, I'm good earlier, I don't.
The night of the election. No,
The
No.
night of the election, I am not here,
what night are we talking about?
25th.
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 But that's
that's
not
not
within the
what it says.
parameters of when we can do it.
We can have the budget meeting, then we can't have the budget vote.
Right.
He's trying to do the budget vote.
Right,
He's gotta do it within 7 days
Right.
for his election, which I am not here for.
Right.
So I'm not here to vote on it. It's what it is.
Oh, goody, 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 goody.
John's loving this one.
Oh, no.
I don't know what to tell you.
I've been dying to do that for years.
From when?
The date of the election.
The date of the election.
25th is almost 2 weeks.
That's why we said we
Correct,
can't
that's
do
what
that.
we're
We
saying.
can't
I
do
thought we
that.
said can't.
But we can have a budget meeting, we just can't have the budget
Vote.
adoption. Adoption's gotta be within
Yeah,
7 days.
And the budget meeting,
I was going the other way.
Seemed like we used to adopt it.
we usually do. Because the number of changes that are gonna have to happen to the budget aren't gonna be that great coming out of the last two budget sessions. So it would seem kind of ridiculous to come in for a half an hour
Right.
on the
So why don't
25th or
we
whatever.
do it
Okay,
November.
You can zoom in.
Like I say, can he?
He can zoom in, but
I just can't vote.
he can't
I can
vote.
Zoom in, but I can't vote.
He can participate in the discussion,
Yes.
but he cannot make any motions or vote.
You can adopt it on the 14th of November. It's still 7 days
At a regular meeting.
at our regular meeting.
Yeah, but is it gotta be prior to, or does it have to be
I
around?
think so. I'd have to go read my book. So let me see here.
Because we've always done it before, folks.
We
That's
have
the
always
big,
done it.
that's the
Yeah,
big,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's within 7 days,
I think it's within 7 days.
then you're
but-
good. but-
You're good. But we don't know if it's prior to or within. I don't know.
you looking it up?
Yeah.
Sorry, folks. Regardless of that,
Yes.
one of the issues we always run up against is whether or not the tax cap has to come into consideration. The state's figures and our figures never seem to line up and align. Ever since they came up with the tax cap override, we've always voted every year to do the override. We met earlier tonight to discuss the possibilities of how we would stay within the tax cap. And quite honestly, one of the things that we realized early on that, the cost of living index is all pointing at 3%. Try and stay within the 3% without cutting staff or projects. It's not gonna be that easy. The first budget that I presented to the board last week showed increases in the spending of roughly 5 to 6%. The 2% one that I presented tonight, we would be cutting things to the bone. And that would be sustainable for less than 1 year. Next year after that, we'd have to look at, do we want a police department? Do we want to have this or that? It's,
Playground money, you don't have that in there.
and quite honestly, for us to do something for $5,000 affects our budget greatly. When you're talking about a $2 million budget to run the town, it just becomes too hard. So we're gonna be somewhere between the 2% and the 6% I've talked about as projected right now. So my best advice to you is if we don't pass the tax cap override tonight, the state will come and yell at us yet again. Even though when we pass the budget, passing the budget, usually the town board has in the past unanimously. And that's the same vote that they want for a tax cap override. It's weird. Would anybody like to make a motion on a tax cap?
I do. I offer to make a
I'll second that.
motion for tax.
Discussion? Yes, tax cap only. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously.
November 15th.
Is the cutoff.
Oh, good.
So the 14th is fine.
Regular board meeting.
We will, normally, the board meets 7:15 for updates and we call the meeting to order at 7:30. I'd like to schedule a budget meeting for 6:45. The night of the next meeting, which is the 14th, I believe. I get that date right at least.
Not the date, it's the month.
That's for a budget meeting and then schedule a budget hearing for 7:45. 6:45 would be a budget session. 7:45 would be a budget hearing,
The public hearing.
public hearing, thank you.
Well, I like that. See, it all worked out.
All in favor, because we're setting a hearing?
I
We need a motion in a second.
I will
first.
motion that we're setting the public hearing.
Motion by Herb,
that-
I'll second it.
second by Dan. Discussion, those dates work?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
And
Aye.
we're deleting the 24th.
We're deleting the 24th.
Perfect.
Trail Department, one of the things we've just talked about in the budget sessions, as we move forward, we had an offer from one of our employees at the highway garage to move full-time over towards a trail department, both snowmobile grooming and taking care of our mountain bike trails, our hiking trails. Found room in the budget to make these things happen. And have extended the olive branch that employee will be setting it firmly, I hope, in the budget when it's adopted. This gentleman has been running the snowmobile program for the last 3 years, 2 years. Couple, 3 years. Stop up if you see Chip's truck outside the old highway garage and take a look at the equipment that he's been manufacturing for us. For the small Honda groomers that we have, both for the snowmobile system and for the park ski system. He's made drags and has modified them. They're beautiful, quite honestly. He's an incredibly talented individual. He's going to be with us hopefully for another 2 to 3 years, and we want to see if this program works. We thank Chip for doing that. We thank Sean for kicking him out of the highway department.
No, you wouldn't say that.
I'm just kidding. This has unfortunately created an opening in the highway department. So have we gotten any nibbles yet or whatever? If anybody's looking for a job with the town, and overtime in the winter, when there's plowing to be done, go see Sean. Same, my next thing is the summer staffing. If you know anybody that wants to be a lifeguard, training for next year is available. You know, anybody that's a teacher and kids, you want to come up and come back and move into the house with you. Grandparents want kids to come back, move into the house with them. We're looking for energized and willing participants for that program. We barely had 2.5 weeks accumulative maybe of coverage for the beach this summer.
Oh, wait, more than that.
A little bit more than that,
That page is,
huh?
or what, like my nephew might be, he did lifeguarding in Casanova, but what does that say?
It's negotiable depending on experience, age, and availability. Anywhere from $15 to 20-something. And again, the 20-somethings would be somebody that could run the beach with a firm hand.
How many days a week?
Looking for anything from 2 days a week to 5 days a week. There's limitations on what they can do, but again, that's part of the pay situation.
Is that an 8-hour day?
It usually is.
Yeah.
But there's a whole bunch of things in that lifeguard handbook that says, this many hours on the chair, this many hours off. But we're interested. If you got room at the house, bring them up. Serious.
When does that start then, Memorial?
It can start as early as Memorial. We haven't been able to do that in years.
Yeah, usually not till the end of June.
Okay, as he graduates this year. so
Yeah,
Be like June 15th, 16th, something like that.
usually. Yeah,
Send them up. Sign them up.
well, when I say Memorial Day, if somebody's got to have training and whatnot, and there's training available someplace, we'll pay them to go to training. We're that serious. We need people. All right, public comment. Anybody have anything? You've waited this long to say one more thing if you want to. You can tell us how you really hurt the foot. What did you do? Yeah, okay. All right, then I guess we don't find out what George did. All right, folks, thank you. Thank you very much for coming. I don't have anything for executive session. Audit of the bills, motion to pay highway.
So moved.
Second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to pay general and sewer. Discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, our next meeting is at 7:30. Our budget meeting is at 6:45, and our budget public hearing is at 7:45. See you next month, folks. Don't forget to vote, by the way.
Are you gonna bring a, like a proposed sewer